Hi, I'm Sherry here at the Little Beading Closet, and this is a special tutorial because I know so many of you have asked me about this ring. So today I'm going to share with you exactly how to do it, and I think it would be helpful if you see and follow along with the tutorial kind of bead by bead, and you can be successful in making one too. I hope you enjoy. If you really love beads, then I'm sure you've seen these coin-shaped ones before. Of course, they are beautiful by themselves, but I really enjoy putting a peyote stitch bezel around them and embellishing it. And once you learn how to do this technique, I'm sure you'll have lots of fun with your beads. This tutorial will focus on the 12mm coin bead. Let's look at them a little closer. Some of these coin beads are just a little bit thicker than the other ones. Today we'll be working with a thicker one, and it will require 6 rows of peyote stitch to complete the bezel. If your coin bead is a little bit thinner, then you'll require 5 rows of peyote stitch. It will make sense later in the video. It's a great size to use for a ring that's substantial but not completely overwhelming in size or difficulty. The first part of the video will be making this bezel around the bird coin using peyote stitch with Delicas in size 15 seed beads. And then the fun part comes when you embellish it with whichever beads you like. Some of the suggestions I have are these 2mm round pearls, also a 1.5 by 2 crystal rondelle, or maybe a 2mm round microcrystal, or even size 11 seed beads. So this one here are the 2mm round pearls along with microcrystals. Over here are microcrystals and size 11 seed beads. This one we'll pick something out and finish up in the video. We'll begin by making a peyote bezel for the coin bead with size 11 Delicas. I'm just going to put about 3.5, 4 feet of thread on my needle. And you begin by picking up a total of 30 Delicas and bringing it down your thread near the end, leaving just a little bit of tail. I don't use a stop bead when I work on this project. I'm going to set this bead to the side for now and move these over. Just needle back through one, the first one here, and we'll pull these into a loop. Hanging on to it, just regular peyote by picking one up, skipping the next one, and coming into the one after it. And it's going to be the first few that you put on that don't have enough tension to hold too much by themselves in your hand, and pull both ends. So this first end, the tail, and the working end. Sometimes you have to coax the bead with your needle or your finger to get it to come sit next to the one that you want it to. So pull your tail and your working thread until you get them side by side. And after you get the first 2 or 3 beads on, the tension will hold itself and it won't be that difficult. As I work around, picking one up, skipping one, and coming into the next, I'm always going to be trying to go onto the right side of my bead. And I'll do that all the way around. And as you can see, this next one, it still does not yet want to come sit right next to the bead I want it to. So I'm going to try to just get it to pop down there into place, pulling on my tail thread and the working thread a little bit on the pull on the tail a little bit, and on the working thread a little bit if you need to, holding on to it. Again, picking up one more Delica, skipping the next one, and coming into the one after it, again working on the right hand side. Maybe pulling both my tail thread and the working thread. And you can see they're wanting to sit a little closer to each other naturally. Continuing with one more, skipping one and coming into the next. Again, trying to stay on the right hand side. It's just about taking your time and working those beads in. And it's going to look flat. In this first round that you're putting the bead around, it will look flat, and that's what you want. I know you think that you're building up a wall or something to sit around, but you're not building the wall yet, or it won't show or be apparent yet. Just continue going around, skipping one bead, coming into the next. So my helpful tip here on this first go around is don't worry about building up a cup shape or anything like that. It's going to be looking flat. I'm just going to keep coming around. If you want to bead along with me, you can, especially if you've never done this before. So technically, as you know, this is row 3. You may be beading a lot faster than I am and have reached the end of your row and are ready to step up. Or maybe you're beading slower and aren't there yet. So I'll leave timestamps so you can jump ahead if you need to. But I think it's going to be good to see exactly how I bezel the bird coin. And if you bead along with me, it'll be helpful. And as you can tell, right now this is all very flat, and that's what you want. You don't want to worry about making a little cup or anything like that yet. Just continue around. Almost to the end of the third row, picking up a bead, skipping one, and coming into the next. And this is where we would do a step up. So you can, on a diagonal, come into the next bead, and do your step up at the same time. You may need to pull on your tail. This is completely flat. That's okay. We just completed row 3. Now we're going to do row 4. You'll see how about a good third of the way through this row, it will start cupping in on the edge a little bit naturally. So I'm going to start putting my beads, staying on the right hand side. Trying not to get my tail thread caught in there. Because you can see the space between the beads is a little wide here. And we want our Delica to fill that completely. And to get it filled completely, we need to kind of pull it tighter. And in doing so, it starts pulling it up. We no longer have our completely flat piece. It starts having a curve to it. Just continue along the edge here, adding Delica, letting it go from this flat shape to the curve. Continue all along your edge. It's super simple. And you can see how this really curves up, starting the little wall. Turning it from a flat piece into more of a ring shape. I'm going to keep going. I just am getting ready to add the last bead for this row. And if you can come through the diagonal and step up at the same time. And sit mine down. Now we're starting row 5. We're going to go all the way around. That should really be coming along quite well now. We're just putting one Delica between every sticking out one. Like I said, this is technically row 5 that we're working on. And we're going to end up doing a total of 6 rows. So I'm going to keep going, finish this one, but go all the way around. Kind of hard to hang on to on camera and show you at the same time without getting my fingers completely in the way. I am sorry about that. I'm trying my best here. Let's see. I hope you're able to follow along, especially if you've never done this before. We're just putting one Delica between every sticking out one. We're here at the end of the row. We're coming into the last one, and then we can step up on the diagonal. This is 5 rows. You can see there's 3 Delicas and then 2. So that was 3 stacked on each other, and then 2, 3, and 2. We're going to go ahead and make 6 rows. If you are using one of the thinner beads and only require 5 rows of peyote stitch, you can stop now and go directly to the size 15s. Since the little bird coin is thicker, we're going to add 1 more row for a total of 6. 6 rows of peyote. So go ahead and pick up 1 more Delica, come into the next sticking out one, do that all the way around. Keep going. Finish up the 6th row. Getting closer. Just keep going. Adding our Delicas. Almost finished with this row. Picking up the last one, coming into this one, and then stepping up on the diagonal. And there we go. I'm finished with the Delicas. You can see that we have 3 Delicas stacked, and then 3, 3, and 3. We did a total of 6 rows. Your bird coin is going to sit in there perfectly. And next we'll use size 15 round seed beads to cinch it in. All right, I'm just going to take my little coin bead out, and we'll get out some size 15 seed beads. I'm going to do 2 rows of the size 15 seed beads. Putting one right here between each Delica. I've switched over to a matte. Champagne. For the first row, it's pretty straightforward. You're just going to be putting 1 15 between every sticking out Delica. They really seem so tiny. Okay, keep going. Just need to go completely around. Adding the 15ths. Coming through the last Delica and stepping up into the first 15 we added. Now we're going to add one more row of 15s. And on this row, when I add 115 and come into the next one, I'm going to kind of over direct it towards the center. So I'm pulling my thread towards the center after each addition. So picking up a 15, coming into the next 15, and pulling my thread towards the center. Don't have to go crazy with the amount of tension you use when you pull it, just some. Just the way I do it. I'm going to continue all the way around doing this. There we go. Directing my thread towards the center. So on this end where we're adding 2 rows of 15s, it's the bottom. It would be the part of the ring closest to your skin, or if you're using this as a pendant, the part that is closest to your skin again. So it's the back or the bottom. And we're almost done with this side. Looks like we have 2 more to go. And 1 more. Then I'm going to go ahead and step into 2 more of the 15s. I'm going to sit this down. Like I said, all the 15s are at the bottom. So with your bird coin, this is the top. The more matte side's the bottom for me. So I'm just going to sit them in there. And you can see what the bottom looks like. You flip this one over. The bottom has two 15s. And we're going to be putting just one 15 on the top. That way you can see more of the coin. Now we just need to move our thread and needle to the top. I'll come through one bead at a time. Following a diagonal path so the thread does not show. Until I get all the way up to one of the top Delica beads. Until right here. I don't know why this particular bead seems to have a lot of pink in it, which is not exactly what I was going for. Pop them out. I might want to use this one instead. More of a white. Okay. Again, picking up 115. I'll come into the next Delica sticking out. And pulling my thread towards the center. And it also kind of stretches the beadwork along the edge towards the center at the same time. That's normal. That's the way this bezel works out. So I have the 15 in place. Now I'm going to pull my beads, over directing it towards the center. Doing that again each time I go around and add 115. So I'll pull the 15 into place and pull my Delicas up over the edge a little bit at the same time. I think as long as you use a constant pressure, you're not pulling too much one time and a little bit the next, you'll be fine. Just continue using a consistent pressure and tension each time. That's the tail. I'll weave it back in later. It looks like we're getting out of shape and some strange gap. Just trust the process. Add your 15s. Keeping a consistent pressure. Coming all the way around. And one more into the next Delica, and I'll step up into the first 15 that we added. So I've come all the way around. This is what it looks like. I do like to reinforce the top row just by coming through the Delicas and the 15s one more time. I usually do 2 at a time, so I'll come through a Delica and 15. So I'll retrace the top one more time. After retracing the 15s and Delicas on the top, I'm ready to attach the decorative edge. And we need to put our needle and thread in position to do that. If you look at these columns along the edge of your peyote stitch, you're going to want to be exiting the second bead down on one of the columns that does not have the 15 above it. So looking at where I'm coming out now, I'll just have to move my needle and thread over. Shh. Coming through this one. I want to exit the second one down from the top, which is this one here, on one of the rows that does not have a 15. I've decided the first bead I'm going to use a size 11 seed bead. So I'm going to come into the second Delica down on the next column that does not have a size 15 seed bead above it. And pull that into place. And pull this into place. So it ends up sitting in the column that has the size 15 seed bead. So again, I'll pick up a size 11 seed bead, come into the second Delica down on the next column that does not have a 15 at the top. It's not 100% necessary to get this exactly straight out at this point, because when you put a bead in between, whether it be a crystal next or a pearl, they'll even up. But I do try to get it fairly straight. So do that all the way around, picking up one bead, coming into the second Delica down on the column that does not have a 15 at the top. Just like so, and repeat that all the way around. I've almost got all my seed beads along the edge. I have one more to put on. So I'll come into the second one down. And then step up into the very first seed bead that we added. Now at this point, you just need to decide what bead you want to put between the seed beads, whether it's a 2mm pearl or maybe a microcrystal. As you can tell, for these gold microcrystals, and I'm coming into the last seed bead, and I can also come into the next microcrystal past it. Now that I have my entire edge decorated with these seed beads and crystals, I'll go ahead and come through them one more time just to give it a little reinforcement and tighten everything up. So go ahead and retrace your edge. And now I'm ready to attach a band to turn this into a ring. I just want to make sure that the band is oriented so the top design is showing properly. It looks like the band should come out somewhere around here. I'm going to make sure my needle is in position for that. Exiting the seed bead here on the embellishment, I need to start coming down into the beadwork on the bezel. Go ahead and drop down into one Delica onto the bezel. It's actually coming through two on a diagonal here, and that's fine. Now I want to check and see how this is looking. Okay, looks pretty good. I have my pattern centered here in the middle. Looking at the back of your coin bead, you have your size 15 seed beads, where there's one 15 that's closest to the center, and the two 15s that are a little closer to the edge. So I'm going to turn it here, and what I want to do is make sure I'm coming through one of the Delicas that's sitting above the 15 that is closest to the edge. And then I'm going to pick up one more Delica and needle into the next Delica, kind of stitching in the ditch. that's above this one right there. With the gold, it's a little hard to see, but you can see we just added one Delica here. So I'm going to pick up one more and needle back into the one that we just added. And pick up one more. And since we're coming off the base, I need to come back into the base for now. Coming through the two Delicas. And then the third one on the base. And back down into this one here on the end. Picking up one more Delica and coming into the one down here. Now we're just starting a 3-count odd peyote strip, picking one up, coming into the next one, picking up one more. I'll be stepping back into the one beside it. I'm going to pull it down, have it sit here on the end. And now down through the one here. We're just doing a turnaround to get our needle in place to start the next row. Up through the one beside it. And the one on the top row, not the very end, but beside it. And back down into the end. So we pick up one Delica and come down into the one on the bottom. Pick up one more Delica and come back up through the one that you just added. Picking up one more Delica, step back into the very first one here on the top row. We're just going to do that little turnaround. Step down into the middle bead. Come up through the one beside it. And if you can, on the diagonal, coming out the one on the top row, not on the end, but just before it. And then step down into the one on the end. And we're going to repeat that for the length of the band that we need, picking up one, coming down, picking up one more, coming back up into the one we just added, picking up one more and stepping back into the very top row, one, trying to get them to sit right there on the end. There we go. Stepping down one into the middle, and then come up one beside it, and if you can, on the diagonal to the top row, not the end, but the bead before it. And back down into the one on the top. Continue working on the length of your ring band, and then we'll attach it on the other side. All right, other way up. So. After you work on the band until you have the length that you need, you want to finish where the end is having, okay. Work on the length of your band until you have it where you need. You just want to finish where the end has two sticking out Delicas on the end and an indentation here. Then we're going to attach it back to the bezel. I'm just going to take my needle and lay it across the back of my piece and see where it lines up. It lines up right here with this size 15. So I know that I want to come into the Delica above it. I'll needle through there and bring my band up. Now I want to go from the Peyote bezel around the ring back into the band. Stop. I'm going to come down one, through 2 15s, and then come back through 2 of the Delicas. And now I'll be coming into the band. Pulling it into place. Through the Delica on my bezel. Through the Delica on my band. And then the next Delica in line on the bezel. Pulling that all tight into place. That will give you a nice seamless attachment. I'll work my needle and thread away from the band. Did she do that? No, nobody did that. Who did that? Okay, to end off my thread, I'll come through here and then reverse direction. To essentially lock in the thread. And trim it off. Yay! All right, somebody's excited that it's finished. And now we can go play.